Southampton Town Board to order on this 18th day of May, 2023. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. The Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Cindy, would you call the roll?
Certainly. Supervisor Schneiderman.
I'm here.
Councilwoman McNamara.
Here.
Councilman Martell.
Here.
Councilman Bouvier.
Here.
Councilman Schiavone.
Present.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Let's get started. We're going to begin with reviewing the agenda for the meeting on May 23rd. So I think that's next Tuesday. And that meeting is probably evening. Yeah, it's a 6 p.m. meeting. And we have 6 public hearings. And that meeting again will be hybrid. It'll be here at Town Hall. First one is a hearing on enforcement action at 1 Squires Pond Road in Hampton Bays for unsanitary condition, water supply. The tax map number is 900-175-1-4. Second is a hearing to consider the acquisition of lands of K4K LLC located at 381 Flanders Boulevard at Flanders, amending the CPF management and stewardship plan for that property. Third one is a public hearing to consider the adoption of the 2023 CPF pilot plan. Number 4 is a public hearing to consider amending Section 6.5, penalties for offenses of Southampton Town Code, Chapter 164, fire prevention, in order to increase penalties and add a mandatory surcharge. Excuse me. Number 5, public hearing for supplemental funding for WQIP for Alwife Creek Stormwater and Restoration Project. And the last one, number 6, public hearing to relocate WQIP funding from Flying Point Comfort Station to Hot Dog Beach Comfort Station. So does anybody have any questions about any of the hearings? All right, let's move on to resolutions. We'll start. John, I guess you're the first one.
Town Board Resolution 640 of 2023, authorized reallocation of QUIP funding from Flying Point Comfort Station to Hot Dog Beach Comfort Station.
All right, so that's following the public hearing on that issue. 666. So my notes say this has to be withdrawn. Now, it's not, I wouldn't be withdrawing it if it hasn't been introduced. Is it already in?
It's a tabled
been tabled?
resolution, so you need to withdraw it.
It's a tabled
at an
resolution.
open
Okay,
meeting.
so we'll do that on the floor, but it authorizes the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Hayduck Engineering for professional engineering services in connection with the preparation of a feasibility study to service the business district of Hampton Bays. So I guess we're not gonna amend it, we have a brand-new resolution.
It's also in here.
It's in the packet.
Yeah.
All right, it's on page 23, so, I don't know why we're doing it that way, but it's fine. All right, so, Tommy John.
Town Board Resolution 682 of 2023. This is a resolution of adoption, amending Town Code Chapter 283 and special events.
And,
We're also getting legal advice in executive session today on some aspects.
are there 2 like this, or just one?
One.
Just one, okay. 'Cause I know there's some debate about the bill. All right, so I guess we are on page 23, 43411. Authorize the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Hayduck Engineering for professional engineering services in connection with the preparation of a feasibility study to service the business district of Hampton Bays. So this is the one that we specifically include the landfill property, correct?
Yes.
And we mentioned, yeah, it's the transfer station. Yep, I see it. And also that we've already looked at 30 Cemetery Road, so we're looking at other properties. So that's what I think we had wanted to achieve. All right, John?
Town Board Resolution ID 43420, accept award and authorize the supervisor to execute a contract with the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, NYSERDA, just to Just Transition Program Action Grant for Clean Energy.
Town Board Resolution 43317. Oh, there you go, John.
Yeah.
I started reading it.
43317.
You're alphabetical. You're first.
Authorize a survey for Pritchard properties located at 3398 Noyak Road and 146 Old Noyak Road.
Town Board Resolution 43358, authorize supervisor to sign a contract with Blaze Stack Incorporated for the software as a service solution to manage the fire marshal's operations.
Town Board Resolution ID 43316, authorize supervisor to sign a contract with GoGov Incorporated, doing business as GoGov, to utilize cloud-based software solutions to manage town clerk operations. Town Board Resolution ID 43353, authorize the supervisor to sign an amended contract with Green Velvet Trees for trails maintenance.
43395 authorizes me to sign a contract with Commander Electric for Southampton Volunteer Ambulance Flashing Beacon.
Sunday, I'd like to co-sponsor. And this is not a traffic light.
Yeah, it's not a traffic light.
Even though it hangs out in front of the new ambulance barn.
Right.
It's a full light, though.
It looks like a traffic
Yeah.
light, but it only
It's like
goes
for
red if
future,
there's only goes red if there's a fire, if they're responding.
Well, there's probably significant amount of state law on what you hang over on
Yeah.
county road, right? You have to stop traffic and let ambulance in and out.
All right. So we're up, I guess Cindy, you're next.
Town Board Resolution ID 43310, authorize the purchase of motor fuels from the Alnia Partners Cooperative Contract with Truman Arnold Companies.
The next one, 43398, authorizes me to execute a 2023 service and maintenance agreement with Best Climate Control for maintenance and service on the air conditioning and heating equipment at Southampton Police Department.
Town Board Resolution ID 43394, authorize the supervisor to execute a consulting contract amendment with H2M Architects, Engineers, Land Surveying, and Landscape Architecture, DPC, for rehabilitation of the Bellows Pond elevated storage tank.
Town Board Resolution ID 43330, authorize the supervisor to execute a contract with Suffolk County Office for the Aging for expanded in-home services for the elderly.
Just hold on 1 second, just on the Bellows Pond, we've already rehabilitated it.
There was an additional. There was a delay, there was an additional charge.
I mean, it's 50 grand, I don't know, what is it?
The second part of the contract.
Do we have to increase the amount we're paying H2M? Is that,
Mhm.
it was a big project.
Yeah, I think we had extended their contract at the beginning of the year, and this is just the additional.
Yeah, that's what I
cover it,
recall.
Yeah.
Okay. 43399, authorize the supervisor to execute any and all documents pertaining to the 2023 transportation contract with Suffolk County Office of the Aging.
Did we miss one, or did I miss one?
No, I did.
43330, you did that,
I did that.
right? You did that, okay, sorry.
Yeah, and then I
Apologies.
went back one.
Town Board Resolution 43415, to authorize the supervisor to renew an agreement with eScope Solution Incorporated for IT services.
43331 authorizes me to sign a amended contract with Hampton Hopper for shuttle services associated with the Southport Community Connection. Now let's see what this is doing, because I know we're trying to get that Friday bus up and running, but I'm
This
not
is
sure
it.
that this is
Friday
that.
afternoon,
This may be
westbound.
just the larger bus.
It's $350 a day.
second paragraph from the bottom.
Last whereas.
Last whereas, or the cost, oh yeah, this is, so it's got the Friday afternoon westbound, they're calling it shuttle service, but that's gonna be the bus, sort of, that takes people back.
And then the second westbound afternoons from late May through
No,
September.
I guess we're paying for this, is it, I don't know if East Hampton's paying anything, it looks like we're, there's this
It's coming out of the
200 for
general Stowe
additional-
money that we share with East Hampton.
East Hampton shuttle if needed, okay. So does this also accommodate the larger bus or just the shuttle? I think it's just the Friday afternoon.
And are we going to
It's
track
the
how many
lack of
people
the
are
f-
actually using the bus?
Was that?
Are we gonna track how many people are actually using the bus and see if
We
it's
should,
used?
yeah, so this allows people then to not have to drive to work on Fridays, because before they had no way to get back, now they have a way to get back.
But I'm thinking that
They're in
some people
traffic,
might,
the
if they
bus
have
is
to
a-
sit in traffic on the bus, they might just wanna drive on Fridays. So I'd just like to see
Yeah,
if
we'll
it's,
see.
the numbers are,
But then they have to, if they're gonna drive, then they gotta drive in the morning,
yeah.
so they can avoid the traffic in the morning. And there's just something nice about taking a bus home, you can get work done. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Some people.
Right, this is not ideal, but when Long Island Railroad instituted the trains between May and September on Friday mornings, there was still no way to get back on Friday afternoon. So ideally, we want the train to run on Friday afternoons coming back. This is to allow people, like Jay said, to, get back to their car on Friday afternoons if they take the train in the morning,
It's
which
just-
is what we'd like them to do.
It's just a lot of money, so I just wanted to make sure it's worth that people
Oh,
are
it's
actually
it's
using
not,
it.
it's not a lot, I don't know, it's a few $1,000s more over the course of the
333,000?
summer.
Right, and it's state-funded.
No, it's
Yeah,
not.
that's the total
That's
budget.
not the cost
the
of adding
total.
Friday. The cost of adding Friday was like an extra 5,000 or
Yeah,
7,000.
it was-
That's the total everything.
Oh, which,
Yeah, I'm not sure why,
Why is the $333,000 total in there?
yeah, I don't know. Let's try to check that, but,
Okay,
Well, that's the contract, the intermodal contract, not to exceed a number.
for everything.
that's the
Yeah,
overall.
that's the
yeah.
total
Okay,
project.
because that makes it seem like it's
East
for
Hampton
this.
and
Yeah.
Southampton, right.
You know, Fred got.
All of the loops.
Fred got the funding up to 750,000, which is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
He got an extra 250,000, and we had 500,000, but we share it with East Hampton. They're actually running more service than we are.
Yeah, they expanded their service in East Hampton,
Oh.
and for good reason. There's more people going there and going to different
Because
places.
their workers have to,
So everyone that I heard
Drive
from that
through
works in
Southampton.
East Hampton loves it.
Mm.
yeah. Well, at least they don't have to drive through Southampton.
Yeah.
Less cars on the road. So,
A lot of businesses near the train station in East Hampton. The schools are within walking distance, and a lot of people from East Hampton town take the train as well.
no, it's great. It's a great thing. It's getting more and more used. Last time I looked at the numbers, they were up significantly, so. And the traffic is so bad, as you all know. All right, so John, you have the next one?
Town Board Resolution ID 43421 authorizes the supplemental funding for WQIP Vale Life Creek Stormwater and Restoration Project.
Town Board Resolution 43368, award and authorize the supervisor to sign a contract for 2023 Silverado 1500 Crew RST four-wheel. What does RST stand for?
No idea.
Okay, with Buzz Chew Chevrolet Cadillac Incorporated.
Probably has like an off-road package.
Town Board Resolution ID 43273, authorize an award, the supervisor to sign a contract for invasive vegetative control and removal with Coastal Commercial Property Management. Town Board Resolution ID 43312, award and authorize the supervisor to sign a contract for 2022 Ford F-350 SRW. Again, I don't know what that means. 4x4 Super Cab with Otis Ford Incorporated.
Just the trim package.
Town Board Resolution ID 43274, award and authorize the supervisor to sign a contract for 2022 Ford F-250 Super Duty with open utility body with Otis Ford Incorporated. Town Board Resolution ID 43305, award and authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with Easton Architect LLP for architectural and engineering services for Tupper Boathouse.
Town Board Resolution ID 43418, the 2023 notice to bidders for Alewife Creek Habitat Enhancement Project.
43397, 2023 notice of bidders for Round Pond stormwater improvements. 43389, 2022 fund balance allocation for capital borrowing as it relates debt reduction policy. So just remember that we have a policy in place where if we see unanticipated reserves that come in higher than the amount we anticipated in the budget, then 75% of that goes toward offsetting borrowing, anticipated borrowing. And that's what this is doing. It's programming some of that money. And different accounts have different reserves. Pretty much everything, with the exception, I think, of one fund, waste management.
Waste management.
Everything came out with a balance above what we had predicted. Overall, a significant delta, like 4.7 million, more than we had anticipated. So of that, 3.4 million will be taken to reduce what we were going to borrow this year. And that's reflected. So if you guys have any questions about how that is being spent, we can always bring Dorothy in too, but she's been advising me on that. 43348 accepts payment from Recla Equity Development LLC for capital project subaqueous crossings debt reduction. So that is part of that Canoe Place development, right? That they were gonna initially put a valve in. That was an automated valve if the pressure dropped. It had to do with fire suppression. But when we decided to do the second under the canal water main, this basically was the cost that the valve was gonna cost, is being applied. And so the CPI, or Recla Equity, is providing the money to offset that project instead. 43412 amends the 2023 adopted budget for purchase of Bay Constable vehicles. Jim, just a question, not on this, but part of the change in the PDD for Canoe Place Inn was that the taxes, property taxes on the boathouse, the differential between what they actually pay in property taxes, which was, based on the hotel use, because we allowed it to be a hotel on that side versus, I guess, the residential units, condominiums.
Right.
They had agreed to provide, I guess, the school and the firehouses with that difference.
If there was a difference in the assessments.
Somebody has
right?
to calculate it, I don't know that.
Yeah, I'll
that
check
is
with Lisa
happening.
about that. I'm not quite sure that there would be a difference, quite frankly, but I'll check with Lisa.
Lisa's supposed to calculate it.
Yeah.
And then,
There was,
Calculate
it was less as a hotel use.
I think it's like $100,000 difference.
Is
Yeah.
it? Yeah, I'll check with her, right?
If you could check on that.
Yeah, there's also tax revenue sharing, correct?
I don't know what you mean by that.
Well,
Hotel
the
tax?
hotel tax?
No,
That goes to the county? Do we see any of
Yeah.
that?
the hotel tax, we don't see any of it. I
We
mean,
should.
Our legislator Fleming, I mean, there are some of that money goes into a fund that gets spent on the East End, on
Well, that's,
arts, cultural arts,
Right.
and things like that. Not specifically to Southampton, but lots of organizations in Southampton benefit from that.
so, well, all I'm suggesting is that we know the portion of that.
Yeah. But most of the money for hotel tax doesn't come back to our area, and the only real earmarks in that are for the Discover Long Island and Vanderbilt Museum and Walt Whitman Museum. But, so everything else we sort of have to fight for.
Yeah.
43348 accepts payment from Recla Equity. Did I do this one?
Yep,
Yep.
we're on page 50.
Did I do 43412? Yeah. Did I do that one?
Yes.
Yes.
For the Bay Constable?
Yep.
Constable vehicles, okay, 43384 is Flanders Northampton Volunteer Ambulance Corps Service Award Program. Is anybody co-sponsoring that?
I'll co-sponsor it. Glad that we have it. No?
Town Board Resolution 43390, reappoint Stephanie Davis to Landmarks and Historic Districts Board. Town Board Resolution 43391, appoint Stephanie Davis Vice Chair of the Landmarks and Historic Districts Board for 2023. Town Board Resolution 43392, appoint Edward Wesnowski Chair of the Landmarks and Historic District Board for 2023.
38630, resolution to authorize. Oh, okay. Resolution to authorize eminent domain proceedings for the acquisition of property necessary for the improvement of a portion of Shinnecock Hills Road and Arbutus Road, Shinnecock Hills. Now, Jim, this is sort of like a friendly condemnation?
Yeah.
To clear title?
Right. It's just, right, when we did the title report, I think really the only entity that may claim any type of title interest is this old corporation, the Shinnecock Hills Corporation. But in order for us to acquire complete clear title before we invest the money that we invest in this road, the title company suggested we do our eminent domain proceeding, so that's what we're doing. So this just authorizes us to do the proceeding.
So this is just a quiet title, basically?
Exactly, yeah, yeah.
All right.
We have the surveys done, and we'll be having the public hearing.
Yeah, otherwise we
Sure.
couldn't spend public money on building a road there on somebody else's property.
Right. We didn't want to risk that. We want to, of course, we want to get clear title, make sure we have clear title before we spend any money on it, so.
But this is really important, I believe, really important project.
Yeah, I
So
think it is too,
It's just like 130 homes back there that really need a safer passage
Yep.
that this will provide.
And it does provide another emergency route, if necessary, if 39 is shut down.
I mean, it's when there's an accident on 39, these people literally cannot get home to their children.
Right.
I know. Right, so this could provide a way to route traffic.
Right. We've been,
So-
wrestling with this for a while.
This is a one-way street going out, but in an emergency, it goes the other direction. Absolutely. All right, 43337, resolution adoption amending Town Code 330-77 to increase the permitted required rear yard lot coverage percentage. And we've discussed this, to go from 20% to, I think, 50%.
Yep. Town Board Resolution ID 43370, resolution of adoption amending Town Code Chapter 316, vehicles junked and abandoned in order to enhance enforcement ability.
And this is the one where sort
We're
of
adding
boats
boats and
things
trailers.
like that. All right, looks like we're at 43414. Accepts workforce housing payment for Canoe Place Inn, Canal, Eastern Maritime Planned Development District, Hampton Bays. That one I'm not, what is that, Jim?
There.
I guess it's the payment in lieu of providing housing. That's what I'm assuming. Yeah.
They
It's
didn't build the
yeah,
required
$500,000.
number of affordable units.
To satisfy the Long Island workforce housing.
Right,
Yeah.
which only applied when it was gonna be residential, and then we converted it to, but I guess it still predates that.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes back to when it was residential?
Yeah, I believe so. That's, yeah.
It has to
When
do
you
with
apply-
the yield of the 37
Right.
townhouses.
Initially, they were looking to do have those as sales, the 37 townhouses.
I mean, it's a $500,000.
Mm-hmm.
Now that will go into,
So,
it says Long Island Workforce Restricted Account. I don't know why it's called that. It should be the Community Housing Fund.
Mm-hmm.
I guess maybe that's what
I
I
Same
think
thing,
that's what it's,
yeah.
and we should check on that.
We
That
checked
may
with
be the
Kara, but I'm
county
sure- I'm
name
assuming that's
for,
what it is. But
yeah.
Check's already in the vault, so
Yeah.
once
I
you
mean, I'll
adopt
take-
it,
I'll-
someone's coming for it.
Yeah, I'll take the money. I know I don't believe they were trying to get around having to pay this by converting
Right.
to commercial. So.
Right, I mean, I think
this
the units.
This
units
was a
are-
requirement of the initial.
And it's
Right, well, they
referenced
built
in
37
the
units, so I
resolution.
think it applies,
It doesn't
it
apply
would have
if you're
applied
building a
if they
hotel. it would
sold
not
or
apply.
rental. as a hotel, yeah, then maybe not, but.
No, I think it's because of the original approval. The original approval was residential on that side,
Yep.
and they would have had to do,
But they also agreed to change it to, in order to change it to hotel, they would pay whatever they needed to make it
yes.
the same as it would for the
Yeah, and
community.
it describes it in the resolution.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, all right, John, you're next.
Town Board Resolution ID 43364, authorization of cost reimbursement waiver for the East Quogue Fire Department Memorial Day Parade on May 28th, 2023, from 12 PM to 3 PM.
Could I be added as this Sunday?
Certainly.
43393, authorize the supervisor to sign documents for the transfer of sanitary flow credits as it relates to the site plan special exemption for 3310 Noyak Road, Noyak. So that is for the affordable units, right?
Yep.
So we're citing flow credits on a property that's got special exemption.
Well, is this one being done by the housing authority? I believe it is.
I think it is, because there's a request for 942 gallons a day sanitary flow credits. So, and it's the project applicant.
So they're building two townhouse
Which is
buildings
us.
with 4 apartments each, and I think they're all affordable.
No. No. This is the corner of Berkshire and Noyak.
This is 3310 Noyak Road. The project consists of the construction of 8 apartments, each not exceeding 600 square feet, to be located in 2 new townhouse buildings, 4 apartments per building, regulated by the Town of Southampton for affordable housing pursuant to 216.
All 8 apartments will be regulated by the Town of Southampton for affordable housing pursuant to Chapter 216, housing for eligible households.
I know there
I'm a little
was,
confused with
there
this.
was a development that the housing authority was doing. You're saying, Tommy John, you think this is something that's a private development that's affordable?
Yes, it is. Well, and I don't know if it's entirely affordable.
Well, these.
A portion
these
of it is,
credits can
I
only-
believe. I need to read this, you know, to,
Yeah, this, I
I'm sorry,
haven't seen this.
you know, this is between Trout Pond and the Hamlet Center on a private home located on the northern side. That's gonna be redesigned.
I'll get clarification. from
So, yeah,
Sarah.
my question is, you know, the flow credits and how many and how many are affordable? How many units are affordable in the entire development here?
Well, yeah, and we can only give these credits away for
Well, it says
affordable housing.
All 8 apartments will be regulated for affordable housing.
So there are 8 apartments total?
That's what it says.
So I say I have to, like, comb through it a bit.
Well, that's what I was reading in the second whereas, but then I'm also seeing additional tax credits or flow credits for, I'd have to talk to Kara.
I still think this may be a different project, one by the housing authority. But I can't tell just by the.
Yeah, we have
the
to
tax
ask
map
Jay.
number. All right, we just need more information
Yeah.
on that. Let's move on.
This is not the housing authority.
It's
It's
not-
on the north side of Noyak Road between Trout Pond and Hamlet Center on the corner of Berkshire and Noyak Road. Just so we know, it's a private residence. So, and I'm really happy that affordable units are gonna be going in here. So we keep it on.
Who's the developer? Do you know?
I do. I think it's Judge Burke.
Oh, it's
that matters,
3310
but-
Noyak Road LLC is,
Mhm.
okay, the company? Okay, we need affordable, so. All right, 43369, authorize the waiver of fees for the Southampton Fire District. What is this for?
Building a substation or a new firehouse or substation.
They're seeking to construct a new firehouse?
Mm-hmm. Water mill.
All right, I need to look at this more carefully here. So this is the Southampton Fire District, which right now contracts with the village, I believe, to provide fire services. They're seeking to construct a new firehouse
In
Watermill.
at 310, okay, I know that property that they bought, there's a home there. The town authorized waiver, okay, so we're waiving the
The land management and municipal works.
of
fees.
$18,000. I mean, it'd be nice if we could get updated as to what
Yeah.
that fire district is doing, but
Yeah.
is that gonna be their main firehouse?
No, I don't believe so. I think they
I think
just
it's a
need coverage
substation.
in the western end
I think it's a substation.
district, yeah, or at the eastern end of the district.
But they also own a property on
North Sea
North Sea
Road.
Road. Where,
But that's, right now, everything runs out of the village and, they're
So-
covering a lot of stuff. in
right,
the
right now
eastern
the
end of
village,
the
and
town.
I'm sure the village is gonna continue to provide fire service. It's gonna be years before they have equipment, firehouses, and everything else where they could do it themselves. And volunteers, which we know is getting harder and harder. I just would like them to update us.
We can surely ask them to come in, or provide us with an update.
We could, do we know who the head of the fire commissioners are?
I believe they all have equal jurisdiction. But yeah, we could probably get some of the folks in to give
We'll
us
get
an
a
update.
Southampton, one of the Southampton Fire Commissioners to come in.
Yeah, Tommy John, do you wanna work on that?
Okay.
All right, 43363, release of performance bond in connection with the planned residential development cluster plan of Mill Creek Heights, also known as Sag Harbor Woods in Noyak.
42576, 2023 junkyard permits.
And 42812 is 2023 part-time salaries. 43083 accepts resignation of senior office assistant in municipal works.
Assistant, sorry, to guys with the title.
Was that?
Senior office assistant.
Yes.
I thought she was staying.
I think she's transferred,
Was she transferred?
yes.
All right. 43314 accepts resignation of the senior office assistant in the police department. 43321 accepts resignation of a heavy equipment operator in the highway department. 43290 appoints Maria Cabrera to custodial worker 1 position in municipal works. 43332. Have we
Mhm.
discussed salary?
We have.
What are we discussing salary? All right, this resolution appoints Tracy Colson to youth services coordinator position in Youth Bureau. 43351 authorizes attendance at the Police Executive Research Forum annual meeting in New York City from July 17th through 19th, 23. 43416 authorized drug court judge and personnel to attend the National Association of Drug Court Professionals Conference. 43419 is a notice of public hearing to consider the acquisition of development rights at 771 and 791 Sagaponic. Is that a post office box? What is that?
Part of.
Oh, part of, thank you. 791 Sagaponic Main Street and part of 135 Gibson Lane, 26 and part of 60 Daniels Lane, Village of Sagaponic, and amends CPF management and stewardship plan to include the properties.
Town Board Resolution ID 43187, notice of public hearing to consider the inclusion of 140 West Montauk Highway into the Hampton Bays Park District.
Just hold on one second. So that public hearing in Sagaponic, that is that horse farm
The top and
property.
bottom, yep.
I don't know, if it's not is it, yeah, Toppin, yeah. Toppin Farm. We had discussed this a long time ago.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was quite a bit, because it was,
So many properties involved?
yeah, a number of different family members and involved, so it was a very complicated contract process, but,
This is a $10 million acquisition.
yeah.
No, I remember we had an agreement, we haven't done it yet. We haven't held the hearing. So this hearing is June 13th.
It was a while to get everybody in contract.
Yeah.
Because there's different family members. It was,
Yeah,
I know I was, after Lisa left, I was into it. It was quite complicated, and then Dan has picked it up since then. But
no, it's
Fine,
beautiful
worked it out.
property. All right, so Rick, did you read
Yes, we
431?
did that one.
So,
The Johns
Town
on
Board
page-
Resolution ID 43424, hearing to amend Town Code Chapter 312-62 to implement a parking by permit only pilot program at Wildwood Lake Park for weekends and federal holidays, Memorial Day, Juneteenth, Independence Day, Labor Day from May 15th to September 15th for a one-year period.
I'd like to be a co-sponsor on that, please.
can I just rewind to the other one that you had, Rick, the 43187? That public hearing, 140 West Montauk Highway, that sounds like that new building we bought.
It's the old chamber building. We tore down the chamber building,
Oh,
we're
yeah,
improving the
yeah,
property.
yeah.
They have to be the beautification,
Yeah,
is
the other one's
doing
240.
some improvements on it as far
And
as
then-
flower beds and,
They need parks, the
Yeah.
park district to maintain
Rick,
it.
which one do you want to be a co-sponsor on?
43424.
That's right.
thank
Did we
you.
want to put it in the Parks District? Why would
So
we
that
do
they can pay to maintain the stuff that the beautification puts in.
Well, we can do that now through the whole town. This will put it in the Hampton Bays only payment.
We need to look at the western end of Good Grounds Park and the possible entrance and exit. And
Well, it's just that, and we're also trying to work on a redevelopment plan for downtown Hampton Bays, and, you know, that property, you know, may end up being municipal parking or something like that, the old chamber building. So I just don't know if that complicates our efforts.
because we'd have to do park alienation if we wanted to use it in that way.
Well,
It's
we
for
have
a
to do-
public hearing, so
It's
we
already
can
in park.
have a discussion and figure
Purchased
it
the
out.
property under open space, I
It
believe.
it was an open space bond, it wasn't a CPF.
Yeah, this is just for a public hearing. We can
Hmm.
have this discussion.
I understand.
No, I know. Oh, and I'm
I
saying.
get it.
I'm just not sure it's
Just
the right thing to do.
serious.
I know that the Beautification Association is, they had a donation from somebody to do plantings on that property. And we weren't going to the taxpayers, I didn't believe.
No, it wasn't. It's to maintain it because the Hampton Bays Park District will contract out to have a landscaping company that does all of the entranceways and all of that stuff, maintain it so that the Parks Department doesn't have to.
Does it interfere with the municipal planning of downtown Hampton Bays? For me, is the question, because there's a lot of things up in the air. I like the idea conceptually, and I'm not, debating it.
I mean, I think even if it's in the Parks
That's what
District
I'm
and it's a
kinda
municipal
thinking.
lot, they can still beautify the parking lot.
I don't know if it's gonna be a
Yeah, I
lot.
don't think the proposed road from the most recent plan
Goes through there.
went through that property.
Right.
No, but,
And that's the stuff I need
Yeah.
to.
I mean, we'll have to go through that, if we need to get to Cemetery Road, we'll have to,
So why don't
Use a
we hold
portion
it
of
out for
that.
a year and wait?
How do you get to Cemetery Road from that property?
you
to
don't,
go
you have
through
to
another-
also get a piece of the Methodist, the church there too. Then you could get to Cemetery Road, but Cemetery Road's a private road. And I don't know if we can use Cemetery Road, but you still could have a municipal parking lot that is tied into the development plans, the downtown development
So why
plans.
don't we hold
It
off
just
on
may
this until,
complicate our efforts.
so why don't we hold off on this until we decide what we're doing?
Yeah, I think we should at least talk to Janice about it.
Yeah.
I know, Frank was working very closely with Susan Bonfredi.
Mhm.
I-
to-
Yeah, but the funding it this way, what is it, $3,000 we, well, we don't have to complicate our efforts. But anyway, it's a public hearing, we don't have to pass it.
It's just
Why
to
don't
make
we
it look
just-
nice.
Okay, John, why don't you read the next one?
Oh,
we already did the next
We
one,
did
right?
that one already, yeah. And all, just for the board, this is an agreement that we've always had with Wildwood for a number of years now, so this is just some amendments to that, particularly for parking on holidays and certain weekends.
But that's a church that owns
Yeah,
it.
we're making some changes this year in preparation of the church, doing some repairs. And then we have to figure out a new agreement or a new way to police this down the road.
So the church has said they would manage the parking there?
No,
No,
no.
I'm confused.
no, it's still.
No, we're trying to preserve parking for Wildwood Park.
The same agreement is still in place.
Yes.
This is just an amendment at
This is a-
section E.
For
which-
permit.
Yeah, it's essentially a temporary, for this year, the church is not going to be using in any way the property this year. They're starting the reconstruction of actually replacing, the first thing they're doing is replacing the roof on the building. They won't be using the parking area at all for this year, so. What we used to have before, the bowling alley, the guy who was operating the bowling alley kind of monitored the parking there. So we won't have anybody there this year, so I think the best way to do this for this year is to have town permit parking for the area that'll keep control of the parking.
Yeah.
And we'll have our PD and TCO go through there to make sure that parking
Which
is
ironically
being
was what
regulated.
we originally wanted to do, but to work
Yeah,
with
yeah, we
Wildwood.
just have this issue that when this property was purchased, we had these cross easements for the parking, so that's something that
So
happened
now,
years
is that
ago.
a change? In the past, you didn't have to have a town parking permit to park there. They charged you were charged if you didn't, right?
If you didn't
Yes.
have it, you got charged, right, but that was when there was.
That's when they had
there was
personnel
when the
there to
Bowling alley
monitor.
operator
Now
was
we don't
present.
have that.
So
This year,
now-
there's not gonna be anybody present, so we have to take it over full control over the regulation of the parking of the property. So we thought this year, we do the parking by permit, and then for this year, the church will not be using the property at all this year, other than to maybe park for maintenance workers.
So that is a change. So somebody who's been paying to use it, who doesn't have a parking permit, won't be able to park there this year.
That's
Right.
correct. Yeah.
We should have plenty of people out there in the first couple of weekends.
Yeah,
Well,
no, we know that, yeah,
Yeah.
we've met with PD on this, and they're aware, and we understand, yeah.
It's a popular spot.
It is. I
It is a
wonder
popular
if
spot.
we-
It also generates a fair amount of complaints
I
for
wonder if
certain
we shouldn't
uses.
create a parking permit for Wildwood, or people could pay, not necessarily let you go to all the town beaches, but,
Well, the problem is that you don't have personnel there to check anything.
well, you
So the
gotta,
only thing that's.
I think you have a lot of
that's
out-of-town users.
Feasibly noted, yeah, and that's what happens.
well, but we're making a town parking permit only. Somebody's gotta check that, so.
Well, that's what
You
PD
could have,
does.
what I'm suggesting is you could have, like, for $100 or $50, a special sticker for Wildwood. It's all, there may be people from the Riverhead area that use this, always used this park, and they paid by the day, that will not be able to use it now.
Yeah, well, it's weekends and holidays. It's not gonna be enforced on the weekdays. so.
It's just weekends and holidays.
Yeah.
I'm just afraid that now they're gonna park on the street, or,
Well, right.
That's the
And we did,
concern.
we have talked to some of the community members around there, and we are concerned about that could be the unintended impact of this, is that there might be more overflow parking on the streets, but PD was there, and.
but
they
that's
felt
why
that
the
they could-
idea of having somebody has to administer it, but you'd have to, whatever, pay your $50 and you get a decal to park at that lot.
Well, it is a
People will
public
do it.
hearing, so we'll
Work it out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go through that.
yeah, it's It's an issue, but
Well, it was an issue originally, that's why we started this, and we were fortunate
it's
to
really,
have
and you know, and
both.
it's a difficult site, and our park director has concerns about the site in general.
Yeah.
It's not a
It just,
very-
it just happens to be near a bordering town, and,
Yeah.
you know, it's,
Well, we had Wildwood Bowling Alley, which was, they were really good in helping us with this issue. It hadn't been an issue, but
Right.
now it's
But-
gonna become one for obvious
but those,
reasons.
you know, residents of Flanders Riverside use a lot of Riverhead parks. And I just want to make sure that we're not creating a situation where they'll start getting shut out of Riverhead facilities. But anyway, we can talk about it. 43408, authorize CPF acceptance of the transfer and donation of the Ellis Squire House property, Hampton Bays, terminate stewardship agreement with Peconic Historic Preservation, Inc., and amend CPF project plan and CPF stewardship and management plan to include the property. Actually, we had held a hearing on this a very long time ago.
Yes.
Lisa
March.
Combrink.
Was it?
Yeah.
What year was it?
Could I be added as a co-sponsor?
for the site.
When was the hearing held? Does it say?
March.
Was it in March of '22?
Well, we designated the Squire's House as a historic
Yeah, March
22nd.
22, yeah. It says public hearing.
in
so-
2007, and then we
Oh,
had
yeah.
a resolution in 2017. The history's here on
Yeah, I actually went back and watched the hearing to refresh my memory. But, yeah, this is a really important property, and we had given it to a not-for-profit, and they were trying to get money. We hadn't, actually, they were just managing it for us. And they tried to get money from the Gardner Foundation to fix it up, and Gardner Foundation really won't give it unless the not-for-profit owns it. And then we realized that like CPF fund could fix it up. So the hearing we held was basically to cancel the agreement with the not-for-profit and then give the property to CPF, which also owns the property next door, and then have CPF restore this house. It's the oldest house in Hampton Bays, and I think it's on the National Registry. So it's an important piece of property that really deserves to be better cared for, and this will give it that ability. But if anybody, you know, I welcome you guys to go back and get on the town's website and review that public hearing. If you may not have been here, I don't remember, but nobody spoke against it. Lisa Combrink did a really nice job presenting.
Yeah, we had pictures that day, and, you know, I've walked the place too. It needs to be preserved.
Okay, so, are there more? There's,
You have one, Adam?
so 43429, authorize the supervisor to execute any and all documents pertaining to the port security grant for use in the Bay Constable's division.
For a new boat. To offset the cost of a new boat.
That's an expensive boat.
So it's
Well, I believe to get that Homeland Security's grant, they have to
It's-
meet certain
yeah, it's a-
requirements
that's a
on the
lot.
boat, which make the
Yeah, well,
cost.
we have to come up
cost.
with 187,000, but the grant request is for 561. And what type of boat is this?
It's a patrol boat, I believe.
All right. All right, anything else on the agenda? Everybody okay with it?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, Cindy, you're good
Free to go.
publish.
Thank you.
Run, run like the wind.
Yes,
No.
yes.
Yeah, no, we're ready. All right, so, we're a little behind schedule. So, next we're gonna talk about wireless communication structures, and we are joined by a number of people. We have Len Marchese, our former controller, who's been consulting
Yeah.
on a number of
Tom.
projects, including this.
Tom? Tom, you,
Well, we have the vendor here too.
oh, you do? Well, we got another,
We also have Janice Shearer, our Town Planning and Development Administrator. Good morning.
Tom says he's good over there. He has nothing to add.
We also have
Come on. his opinion is important. Come on.
Tom Houghton is here, he's our town engineer. We also have former town board member Julie Lofstad in the audience, who also is here representing
There's
commercial
two
fishing
vendors?
interests.
Oh, you need to check.
And then we have
Are they not here yet, Len?
Quito.
Another one?
We're trying to get it so that Charles can put it on the screen.
Okay. So we have Keith Keitho, who will be here in a second with PowerPoint.
Yes.
Hope this works last minute.
Hi. You are
Laurel Mooney.
Laurel?
Yep.
L-E-U-R-E-L?
Yes.
All right, Laurel Mooney, M-O-O-N-E-Y?
Yep.
And you're with,
Tower Point. With Keith.
And you must be Keith.
Charles is like, do you want anything else?
Hey, Mike left, okay? He's my.
Keith, you and I have spoken a number of times by phone.
Do some bagels.
There's only one, there's
First
only
time in
one
person.
bingo. Oh.
So, this presentation is, I'll make it work, man.
We need, can we afford a better easel?
This is even just a presentation.
I'm not asking you.
probably should have been.
These are other just simulations.
Thank you.
The simulations for the town are in the presentation and the video.
No,
Yeah.
no
This is kind of showing how the flagpoles.
Okay.
It's actually the sky blue.
All right, so we're gonna be talking about cell towers, cellular communications.
Yes,
Yeah, you wanna introduce us?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll introduce Topic and Janice can come in, whatever. About 4 months ago, 5 months ago, we developed the concept to put out an RFP for some cell tower providers to give us some proposals at various town sites. There's been a need in several areas of the town for additional service. So we issued a RFP. We got back 4 or 5 different proposals from different vendors. And we had a committee internally that met and reviewed all the proposals. And we narrowed it down to Tower Point as the best option for the town. Their proposals seemed the most fiscally advantageous, and the design seemed to be what we were looking for. And so we asked them to come in. They further fine-tuned their proposal, and we talked about what we were looking for. Janice laid out some of the parameters regarding like the planning board and what our requirements are and stuff like that. And then they came back with a final kind of site plan. You want to add anything to that?
No, and that is really the idea, is to have, and always in the wireless master plan, it was advocated that the board look at revenue options, look at utilizing town property where it makes sense, where we need the signal to allow for emergency communications, and produce revenue which offsets the taxpayer burdens for services and different things that we need down here in the town. So with that, Keith can explain.
Can I ask a couple of questions? Or bring?
Sure, absolutely.
Cell towers are not necessarily the purview of the town or any municipality. Private individuals can have them erected on their property if they meet the special exemption standards. right?
Yes, that's absolutely correct. So most times what happens is, a carrier or a company will seek to put in an application to the planning board on private property for, wireless communication tower or some type of infrastructure. In the wireless master plan, we talk about how that should be done and where. And there's avoidance areas, there's opportunity areas. We lay out like the high points in the town and talk about like if you had a tall building, you could put antennas on there, and then there's, the public side of this is you have even more control when you're the landlord. And that's the truth. Like if you are controlling the actual parcel, then you have regulatory control on a planning board, but there's only so far you can go because there's all these FCC rules.
That's the benefit if the
and
town
shot
were to build
clocks.
them.
Yeah, so the
Right.
benefit of the town doing it is A, you get revenue, and B, you have even more control because you are laying out what you want in a lease structure.
And we are in the business already, we have a bunch of cell tower agreements currently in various places throughout the town.
Okay, we had one go up in Watermill on a private property in the past.
Sure.
Yes,
Past
not-
year,
not too
and
distant.
they went to the
There's
planning board through our code
There's
and
one
got
right on County Road 39 on top of Corvette.
Right. Okay, thank you. I don't want the public to think that this is just a thing that cell phone towers are a thing that the town does or the municipality does. It can be done by private as well as public entities.
Yes, but the wireless policies that have been adopted by previous boards, that unless you change them, those are the policies, and the policies say, work with people when they come in to try to do, installations on public property. But instead of even doing that, because we got inundated with people who were like, how about here, how about there? We put out a bid and said, these are the two locations that you might consider, which
Right.
is the commercial dock and the transfer station. And those, instead of everybody, in most places are not, it doesn't make sense, but these two places particularly do. So now we'll see what they've come with.
One last question, private individuals that have cell towers on private property, they make revenue off of that cell tower. Right, you guys probably addressed that.
Yep.
Just laying that out for the
Yeah,
public.
and here
This
the
is-
revenue
I
goes
know
back
this,
to the
but-
town, so the
Right.
town is able to, use that to offset
Okay.
other
Yeah, even
financial.
in this,
Thank
in
you.
this area, the town of Southampton, I think, has the most land, right? And if you look at all the other there's a lot of residential property. So even though there's private property, the residential properties are not gonna be really suitable for a cell tower, nor will they want it. So we look at the town property as probably the best property to do the build out here within the town of Southampton.
Okay.
And you brought up a very good point. We're dealing with another town where if you have private property next to government land, they actually almost force you to build on government land. And this is on Long Island. So we're fighting with that, and we have a meeting next week about
They
that.
force you to use the residential as commercial?
No, they actually want you off
They
the
want
private
on the
property onto the public land, which we disagree with because you're like, public entity taken away from private enterprise, right? So.
So you come in with
We
an
came in on
application
the private, and
then
they're like,
no.
no, we kind of want it over there. We're like, whoa, hold on.
This was their planning board.
They're taking revenue from them.
Yeah.
They're taking, and,
exactly.
and this is
suggest
yeah, they could suggest it, and this is a large property, and he's being like, this is insane they're doing this, So-
We've been doing stuff with municipal entities and quasi-governments since the 90s. Our first cell tower was with the town of Babylon in 1999 or something like that. And we've done all their beaches, Overlook, Gilgo, Venetian Shores, Town Hall. There's a whole list of different municipalities that we've worked with. 'Cause
And back then, it
just-
wasn't flagpoles either, so.
One was,
Well, it wasn't.
yeah,
So,
but, so we kind
So why
of,
don't you go through
The
your
proposal.
proposal and talk about what you're offering and
you have that? I'll take out my laptop.
Now, we put out a bid and that's why. Okay, so we're all clear.
Let's go. Leave it up there. How do I manage that? How do I?
That's a good question.
You
How do
just say,
you-
change next slide, or
Next
I'll also
slide.
do it.
Next slide.
Big slide.
I like that.
So this is just a quick overview of us. We're full turnkey. Everything's done inside financing, development, construction, and management. Next slide. bringing all the partners together, 150-plus years of knowledge, 600-plus employments, 700 sites under management. So that's very good for talking with the carriers. You know, if there's a one-off, you know, cell tower owner, the carriers don't really care, you know. When you have a large portfolio, you can really leverage the higher rent, and also carriers want, how should I, like a firm that knows what they're doing, you know, because it's, even
We're
though-
local, so.
Local, and et cetera. And we've done 125-plus ground-up developments. That's macro sites, so full cell phone towers. We're not talking rooftops, we're talking actual cell phone towers. Next slide. So this is, the first one we're doing is the transfer station. So.
The detail is on.
Yeah. We proposed 2 heights here. After talking with the carriers, we actually wanted to go to 140 off the bat. And that is because of high interest. And it will actually, so what we want to do is actually show the combined revenue. So if we just started with 120, combined revenue is around 4.4. If we go with the 140, we can get more carriers on, and they can double up. And it actually brings in around almost $2 million more.
That's over how long?
That's a 10-year period. That's actually including also the 25X that we did as a buyout value. So what that means is you guys have a revenue stream, so you can actually sell that revenue stream to us, and we'll buy it out, right? But then you get no more revenue. So if you want a large cash influx, you could sell it to us. Even in our agreements, we'll have a ROFR, right of first refusal, and that's just because we want to protect our assets. If we're going to be investing in the tower, we want to make sure no one can come in and literally buy the ground underneath and steal our asset if our lease runs out.
But we don't know that we would actually like parcelize it and give it away either.
Oh, yeah, of course not.
Yeah, no, you
It's
don't have
probably
to.
not.
It's just another
If we-
option
if we needed it.
the town needs to influx
Okay,
it.
because most likely we
It's like
keep
a
the public
county
property public and
maneuver,
that's
that's
that.
what
What they call it, Kenny? Was it when
Yeah,
did
they would like
tobacco-
collateralize the
Yeah.
tobacco
Yeah,
settlement.
tobacco
The
settlement.
future revenue streams of,
Collateralized or amortized?
yeah,
County's all
it's a
that.
backdoor county mechanism.
Yeah, it becomes a one-shot revenue.
Put 50 mil,
rather than-
you know, like, they'll take it.
No, it isn't, our plan, and my recommendation would be to use that stream, the long-term income stream to help support the commercial, not this one, but the one that we're talking about in the commercial fishing area, to use that revenue stream to support maintaining that and improving that
Well,
facility.
but here, could we use some of the revenue in waste management? Because that transfer station is one of the few that is not, you know, it's an enterprise fund, but it's not meeting.
It's not meeting the
Absolutely. I
definition of
think
an
Tom would be
enterprise.
happy
Well,
to hear that.
it's running at a deficit.
Yeah.
so-
Well, yeah, the general fund subsidizes that operation. So, yeah, you could, the town, obviously, the board can decide on how you want to allocate the revenues. That's one of your options.
But it's similar in that way to the commercial dock.
Yeah.
We don't have to self-sustain, so.
Off of that, I will say, we did talk with Andrew Hintz, who does the town communications. For the North Sea Transfer Station, it's not 100% needed, the extra height for public communications. That's as of currently, but you never know in the future. So for this one, this is really for cell carriers.
All right, so we're not putting emergency
But
communications in.
So
we'll
the
reserve
120
that.
would work, in other words. You don't really necessarily have to go full out 140,
Off
even though
the
it's more
bat,
revenue.
It's more revenue. I just want to show the difference, yes. But this
Can
one
I-
is actually for really strictly cell carriers for at the moment.
Are
From
these
IWT.
designed, can you go, if let's say you built 120, could you add another 20 feet to it later?
Correct, yeah. So we can engineer it, so where if another carrier wants to jump on, we have it engineered to go up to 140. And that includes the
So you
foundation
could build it at
and everything.
120, but it could be built at 120, but later expanded.
Yep.
to-
Correct.
So Janice, at North Sea, this wouldn't interfere with our solar arrays, our plans
No,
with
no, it's all
USAR?
been designed to
All
work
right.
We
together.
did that at Village of Thomaston, Village Hall, and North Babylon Fire Department. We went up 20 feet at Thomaston, and then I think another 30 at North Babylon.
Is it possible to put emergency communications on the pole?
At the top,
Yeah.
yeah. So we
We'll
always
reserve
reserve
the
the top.
Okay.
It's always reserved and it's completely for free.
For a police department if they want.
Police, fire department, volunteer ambulance, et cetera. Next slide.
So it's all communications only, or does it go into microwave range? Do you do any of
It's
that?
really up to what they would need. So it's interesting you brought that up, because they do need a relay at the fishing dock, and that's
Right.
the Southampton Fire District.
Yeah.
So, and that's just a simple simulation of where it would be. If you it's kind of dark, but you can see there's a hill in the back. That's where I believe the solar array is going. I did on top of the dump, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we're at the bottom of it in that, it's like a cleared area surrounded by trees.
Yeah, no, I know the spot.
It's a pretty good location. It's, building-wise,
That's
construction-wise, it's
not
actually
shadowing,
good.
right?
It's flat, it's easy.
It's close
Is
to
that
where we had the
shadowing
fire.
right?
There was a fire there?
There was a fire, yeah.
Truck, one of our trucks.
One of the trucks
Okay.
went on fire.
You can go,
Yeah, we're
Actually,
sad
my
about it.
husband, the first week he worked at Suffolk County Water Authority, his truck went on fire. Like, only you.
next slide.
Is that like a 120 or a 140 that was?
That's actually simulated as 140. We did
Okay.
go with 140 for that.
Well, that's 140, okay. So if you did 120, it would be lower, obviously.
It will be, yeah.
About
The
20
the
feet?
trees there are about 75 feet tall, believe it or not. Yeah. They're substantial, yeah.
Oh,
Next slide as well.
But go back one, maybe?
Go
Because
back.
that's sort of where the pole's going. So.
Yeah, go back one, please.
So just to get oriented,
And this is all facing north. as well.
There's like that trailer kind of right in front of it, right? That's the trailer?
To
Right
the
here.
south,
Yeah.
and that's where
The
their office is.
existing building, yeah.
and this area is currently cleared?
It's,
Right, that's what I'm
well, if
looking
you had a fire, I was wondering why it was like kind of new growth trees.
No, it was
No,
in
fire
front
was-
of the building.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so
no.
the area, where's the pole? In the,
Directly in the middle of that compound. That circle
where
is
the
where.
black dot is?
Mhm.
Bring up the picture.
Yes.
It's scrub growth in there right now.
It was cleared recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not-
Any
it's like-
reason that's clear, or is it just, it was just,
It was previously cleared and we maintain it.
oh, okay.
Doing something with
It's
it.
at the perfect spot.
It is, yeah, it's, I'm happy to see that.
Okay.
Next slide. Thank you. Just showing the 140. Next slide.
So there's what, 3 whips at the top?
Oh, yes.
Is
Actually,
that-
can you go back one?
Is that for the emergency communications? or
Yeah,
is
so
it-
we were,
Yeah,
it's just to
reserved.
show it, it's reserved. Emergency equipment, they use whip antennas. The carriers are all internal with antennas, so it's gonna be.
So it wouldn't even have those unless the police asked for it?
Correct.
Or the fire department.
DPW or
I do know,
whatever.
Suffolk County did build that new tower about a mile southeast
Yeah.
of this location.
So they might not need it.
I don't think they do. I don't.
Okay.
If anything, it would be the fire department, but Andrew of IWT said this is not gonna be needed at the moment.
Okay.
But it is needed for cell carriers, obviously.
Cell carriers,
Cell
yeah.
carriers are desperate right here.
Yeah.
They are.
And it won't interfere with that other pole that, at a mile south.
Oh, no.
No, just
No,
want
the
to
cell
confirm
service
that.
is terrible in that area. so. Okay.
Next slide.
When you do these, do you do RF studies or do you?
We could do a full propagation map, even we actually did it for, we did it.
Yeah,
We
for
did
the last
maps. We
meeting,
did an
yeah.
RF map for this.
Did you give it to us?
I did, I don't know, is
So
it in here?
I mean, I know
We've done so
anecdotally.
much stuff already, I forget, you know?
I know it's needed in that area, but like in terms of, do you guys know from the carriers that they've requested?
Mhm.
Like, you're not gonna build this and then nobody's gonna take?
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. We have.
We're not putting you through the headache or us if they don't
Yeah.
want it, for sure.
We need the carriers, the
so
carriers are
there's a
spending
need-
a
We will
lot of money.
definitely have somebody.
You've done some kind of business needs analysis, right?
Exactly, yes. And until we truly have a full lease, it's kind of like, all right, well, word of mouth saying, yeah, we'll do this, we'll do that, you
And
know,
under the contract, you pay entirely for the cost of putting it up,
everything, yes.
and you don't. Do you get that back, or no, you just get your percentage eventually get it?
No, through a
Just a
percentage, yeah.
percentage.
And we also included a capital contribution, once we get a CO from the town. That's just cash for the town to use as they wish. So for the North Sea, that's 225,000.
Right, so that's just a straight out payment, and then we also get the rent. Okay.
Yeah, so we don't cut your rent if, I know there's some other agreements that might say, hey, we want to cut your rent until we get our capital, our construction costs back.
Right.
We don't do
You
that.
pay us up front.
Yeah,
Okay, and you pay for the cost of putting it up.
yep, that's correct. Except lawyer fees, whatever you guys have to do on your end, we don't cover that.
Jim's
Sorry,
cheap,
Jim.
he's not expensive.
What kind of power do they consume? Typical.
We just need 200 watts, it's nothing crazy. Yeah,
Bring
everything's
it
gotta be
in.
sub-metered for the carriers.
We bring in the upfront electric, so we'll have, 6 meters, 5 meters for
Yeah,
the
'cause
carriers.
we have some difficulties tapping into the LIPA grid, as you guys.
Well, we're having
probably-
all that worked out with the solar right now.
Yeah,
so
well,
that
that's what
actually
I'm
works
thinking,
out
but
well.
200, we'd have to see what the allocation is for our
Yeah, it's
local
all-
residents.
Is it three-phase or just?
Believe it or not, we don't need three.
You don't need
phase.
three-phase,
We don't. It's very, very low power.
Good.
We do put generators if the carriers request a generator, so I don't know if that's gonna be an issue at all. Sometimes say like no propane or they need to be gas.
Those are just emergency?
Emergency.
They're
that's either-
cooling.
Power outage
They're
or
cooling too,
during a
because
storm.
of the
Well, that's
case.
good.
Batteries with the solar too, right? Yeah.
But the normal power is just straight from the.
Oh, yes, yeah, and everything's sub-metered, so we put plenty of meter banks, so if the fire department does wanna jump on, it's very easy for them to, jump on at a later.
So Janice, we really need to check that allocation, because we're like at 5 megawatts right now. We really need to be, I don't know what the allocation is we're going to give for residents in that area to make this project work with a developer.
We might, usually we
No,
just,
they're working out all the.
Well, because it's saying here, it's coming off of it's a tap into a utility pole.
yeah, so what we'll do is
What about
add another
transfer?
usually we add a transformer.
We won't know exactly
Oh,
where
that's what
we're
I'm
tapping
saying.
into.
It just
We
need
have
to
a meeting
protect
with
this
PSCG.
project, our solar array project, the first one that
Oh,
we're
yeah,
doing.
there's no conflict,
Okay. Consumption-wise.
consumption-wise.
Okay.
In fact, you're generating renewable energy here, so, the
No,
problem is-
how much is being tapped from
Yeah, but I
this.
mean, you're going to be producing. here,
Right, but we
too.
also have this allocated for.
So they're-
other
they're-
Utility,
things.
you pay the utility bill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no
Right.
Well,
conflict as
car-
far
we
as
sub-
I'm aware.
we- It's sub-meter, so the carriers do. But if we have equipment there,
Oh, I
or
see.
if we're with the fire department, sometimes we do pay for it. It sets a,
But we don't
Usually
have,
just
any-
some-
we have no, our rent is straight out, and we have no expenses that
correct,
get deducted from it.
yeah. The key word is gross revenue share. Some people might sneak in net, and then they'll be like, oh, yeah, well, it's a net revenue share, and they throw in
No, we-
$30,000 in expenses.
We can
Yeah,
grow
and
it.
then subtle, those little subtle differences
Yeah.
make huge
So
So we
differences.
maintain it, maintenance, landscapers, all that stuff to make sure it looks nice and,
Paint it, whatever.
yeah,
Okay.
annual,
And yeah, and ours is off the gross.
yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Let's go to the next one. So, we did two things here for the fishing dock. We did want to show the 50-foot. For the 50-foot, what we originally proposed was $75,000 capital contribution, combined revenue, 1.8, and that's with the 10-year revenue plus a buyout of 25X. But then when we talked to Andrew Hintz of IWT, they did say that Southampton Fire District would need 100 feet for their communications. And he's like, very likely as well, the volunteer ambulance would need to be on as well, right? But he confirmed 100 feet for their equipment at the top of the tower.
100 feet now, because I thought this was gonna be 75 feet, so it's gonna be 100
So-
feet?
Well, I guess the RFP said 50 feet,
Yeah, the
right?
RFP was
Which
50.
is not really worth kind of anything, 'cause each person has like a 10-foot section, so you go from 50 to 40 feet, and then once you go from 40 to 30, no carrier is gonna want that lower section. So that would be a one carrier pole
And what
as
we-
well. And then the fire department also said they needed 100 feet, so.
And we could
Oops.
always push back, and Andrew's saying is 100 feet, 100% needed. He could come back and say, actually, we can get away with like 85, right? Something like that. But that's going to be further down the line of exactly what is needed. but I will, from 50 feet to 100, all the carriers can jump on 100 feet, right? So you'll see that's why we even doubled the capital contribution from 75,000 to 150,000.
And the carriers are asking to go there, because like I'm on AT&T, but I have no problem with cell communications in that area.
So it varies per carrier. During the summer, it's going to be a capacity issue, especially with Ponquunk Beach, the inlet.
Oh, I see, yeah, I haven't checked that out.
Yeah, so it, you know, if
I
you go
checked
there,
it out
like I was
this time of
there,
year.
I was there in the, just, you know, a month ago, you know, the beautiful day. You have service because there's no one out here, right? And then
Okay.
when everyone
When
comes
summer
and
starts,
everyone
yeah.
has an iPad, an iPhone, a Mac, it changes.
We have that problem with internet,
Yeah, and they're
too.
trying to watch like YouTube on the beach,
So
and
it's a
everybody's doing
bandwidth
that,
type of
and
issue.
TikTok and Snapchat.
Exactly, you know, people are uploading now, the cameras are crazy, you know, like a Snapchat video is like 1 gigabyte. You think about that like 10 years ago, that was a full movie, a gigabyte. Now they're uploading like a 1 gigabyte video of them on the beach in seconds, right? It's crazy, the quality.
Shaken.
It's just changed so much, you know?
Right, and so I just have to wrap my head around the 100 feet. You know, in my head, I was gonna say this one should be 75 feet, you know? Because it's about 75 feet from the dock, from the water.
It's 100 feet, what they're proposing, where they're gonna put the
Oh,
tower.
okay.
Yeah, so we do have, and that was a concern you brought up. It is 100 feet from the bulkhead,
It's
and
100 feet from the bulkhead, but now 100 feet is taller. I think the tower at the end of the road is 75, roughly. There's a tower there, Coast Guard, I think, has a tower there.
oh, you're talking on the other side of the Ponquunk Bridge? No, that tower?
No, that's
At the-
really tall.
That's like, I was gonna
Yeah,
say, that's
so
like
that's-
300, I think it's like 400 feet.
At the
actually.
inlet.
400, no, I'm talking about out by the.
It's a truss
inlet.
tower.
Okay.
There's a, yeah, what do you call it?
Trusses, it's got a series of
No,
trusses.
no, I
It's
think
like a
that's like
lattice.
a radio beacon for you guys. I think
Yeah,
it's
it's
like a
like a
Loran
light-
signal.
Jetty?
Yeah, on a jetty. Something,
It's
it's
like a
not,
lighthouse.
I'll look,
But it's gonna be more
It's
than
75
that,
feet?
because this
I
is a
don't know.
flood
I
zone.
think
I
that's
thought
about
it was
70,
smaller.
75 feet, but,
This is a flood zone, so this is
So-
gonna have to.
but you
has
have,
to
you
get
have a,
lifted.
you have a visual of it at 100?
at 100, yes.
Okay, I'd like to see that, so.
Well,
Can we go
does
to the next one?
that, but could I ask a question on
Of
that?
course.
Does that include consideration of the FEMA flood zone? Your need to bring this power and control up at a certain level above ground because it's a flood zone?
Yeah, so the foundation
So
tower.
it's more than 100 feet?
No, because
No?
we're gonna have all
Okay.
the power and fiber raised up.
Raised up, that's
so
what
the
I
bottom,
asked.
the foundation can, everything's
So you're
gonna
gonna
be
just move it up.
above.
Perfect.
The
All right,
bottom
that
of
was
the
the
tower
question.
can get wet. and-
Thanks.
One of the major upgrades that we did on the fishing, you can see it right there, is on the commercial dock are the electric.
Yeah.
All the electric meters are in that house. That was on ground level. That's been all redone and then raised to FEMA standards as well.
Yeah, that's, I measured it, bottom of that
Mhm.
platform is 8 feet.
It's a nice job, right?
Yeah, it's actually very clean build. I don't know who did that, but it was a clean build.
So that's what it's gonna look like?
That's what
Wow.
we're gonna propose something around like that.
That's
And
all-
that's
All
what
the
we'll
gear,
work
all,
with.
everything has to
Everything has
be
to
at that
be
level.
just up at a certain level.
Yeah.
You can't disguise it to look like a lighthouse.
Huh?
Be perfect there. Hampton Bays used to have a lighthouse.
We have to do that all along, dude, like Tiana, the same way. That was a big,
It would look great, wouldn't it?
We got, is it Gurney's or Montauk Club? There's a little lighthouse that has AT&T in it.
I know,
Little fake one.
I know what one, yeah.
How about a tree?
True,
I'm
yeah,
kidding.
true on the beach.
So it's funny.
No,
So
but-
we had a village in the North Shore
You put an osprey nest.
that said, you know, he wants the tree, wants the tree. We're like, we're not doing the tree,
Right.
because we heard nightmares about it. So then Verizon said, all right, we'll do you the tree. And lo and behold, the branch fell on the mayor's car.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I was like,
so we have
It's a
fall
metal
radius.
branch, too. right?
yeah, it's,
Oh,
Can
it's
you
also-
do that?
it's windy there.
We have fall radius
I mean, this is
laws
gonna-
too.
it's gonna look like a
Compliant
flagpole.
with that as well.
Correct.
These are the
yes.
ones that telescope down if there should be something.
They fold, right?
No, so, yes, I call it kinking. So when they fail, this is gonna be a tower class 3. That can withstand, I believe is it 145 or 155 mile per hour?
so
I think
it's 145, but then the gusts are different with the public safety.
and then you can add in the.
I gotta check my.
Yeah, but there's also variables of ice and stuff. So 135 mile per hour winds at Long Island. we're gonna be, there's gonna be a lot more for a lot of people to worry about, right? But what happens is they kink about at the midpoint, so it just gets the wind load off. So they don't fall.
So
over.
folds.
It yeah, folds, or I call it like a kink. Like
Bends?
Yeah, bends. And that's just to get the wind factor off. So
Okay.
instead of standing straight up, it's just, the wind's kind of going up.
I have poles that are 25 years old, and nothing's kinking or falling down there.
Yeah, these are very,
Everything's
they're over-engineered by design.
130 miles is a lot.
135.
135 is
I
a
think
lot.
Even be 145, and then we up the
Yeah.
gusts.
We have had
and-
winds above that.
And,
I mean, not unheard. I know it's a bad day on the East End if that's happening.
Oh, yeah.
But that would be the time when we would want cellular communications. Is it possible to increase that without affecting the
I can
cost
send you
incredibly?
the specs that we
Yeah.
have, because it's gusts and all that.
I'm thinking the hurricane of 38.
Mm.
Okay, yeah, yes, we
We've
can
had them.
increase it, that's federal law, it's called like a tower class 3, and that's when if public services is on there, that's what they need to meet. Doesn't mean we
That I
can't go
get.
above it,
That's-
you know,
that's
and
fine.
even, I was telling
Which the
Laurel about
carriers
this, I was
don't
like,
do.
this is gonna be, this is a tough site, between foundation, where it's located, I was like, the winter winds, this is gonna, it's gonna be, northeaster comes through, it's like, oh, God.
Salt.
Yeah, it's,
Well, yeah, I mean,
we even are talking to the tower manufacturer, being like, this is gonna be
It
a
could
little,
breach
we
in
need
this
this to
area.
be like a tank, you know?
we've
So-
had issues with Dune Road, but there's a major project happening next year to rebuild the beach. You know, because we've had a near breach not far from here.
Isn't it even right across from it? Like, I've
Close,
seen,
really
you guys like
close.
put like sand every
Yeah.
year I go out there, I'm like,
Yeah,
right,
but there's a
another one.
very
Yeah, I
big
don't know.
federal project to rebuild the beach that should, you know, it's a 30-year
yeah.
project, you know, so it shouldn't be vulnerable like it is today, once that project happens.
Yeah, it's right, the water's right there, when you go over that little
Yeah.
thing.
But,
We're working, we're currently working with the, just an FYI, we're working with the Bayman, that's why Julie's here, actually. She's representing the Baymen's Association, which is, not Bayman, I'm sorry.
Commercial fishermen.
Commercial fishermen, I said it before, I made a mistake. The 20 boats, they've got a 501c3 corporation now, so she's kind of the spearheading the effort so that we got them on board with the design, where we're gonna put this location, and we're actually working on conceptual designs at this point to reconfigure the site so that it's beneficial both for the commercial fishermen and the residents. There's gonna be some public parking. We're proposing perhaps a crossover the dune so that people don't have to walk on the dune. So there's a kind of an overall comprehensive plan keyed in to the revenue that's gonna be generated from this project. To kind of revitalize that whole end, because it's really underutilized from the rest of the town residents' perspectives, you know. Other than the 20 commercial boats, not many residents can utilize that area. So that's
and
part of,
provide a bathroom potentially in the
Yeah.
building that's there.
yeah.
And Supervisor, you questioned if it's gonna look like a flagpole. It's just gonna be like this cylinder, kinda like that one. And because of the wind, I recommend not putting a flag there, because it just whips around and
Yeah,
then
it just gets destroyed.
It's gonna be destroyed.
and then you have to replace it every
Right.
week and
You
just,
should put some swiveling generators on there.
Is it?
You can produce all your
Yeah.
power.
They do make those for the towers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Something spinning around at the top?
No, actually, they're directional, they're facing,
Oh,
like
those
this, and they turn.
those cylindrical ones.
Yeah, and they catch it,
twist.
helical, they work pretty well.
Interesting. Yeah,
So
they're
that
qu-
is,
and they're
just to
quiet.
clarify, that
Very
is a
quiet.
100-foot simulation. That's what a 100-foot would look
I
like.
know it's gonna be white, and you just paint it
Uh,
white, or gray.
so
Jen-
I like doing the sky blue color. It
Blends in a little bit.
blends in better,
Like a baby blue or something.
the light blue.
Like blue.
It's lit up for aircraft.
We don't have to, FAA is up, is
Yeah.
199 and above for red light, so 100 feet, this is, we just have to register it with.
I was just gonna say, Julie.
ASR.
It's like a beacon.
And then that's the other good thing about not having the flag on it, because then you have to light up the tower.
Right. Okay.
Next photo. And even, even what Len, Janice, and Tom are working on with even Julie, the design they did with the parking, the walkover, really good idea, I will say that. You know, it's great when the government, hey, let's do, if you're gonna do something, do it right once, right? What they're doing is truly changing this area to really use it for everyone, you know? I don't know. if you guys-
We're still working on the plans, and we haven't, but once we finalize them, we're gonna present them to everybody. It's just that this is the business
It
end
looks
of
good.
it.
I was very
This is the
impressed by
business,
it.
this is the business end, and then once we kind of come with a working, good
project
document,
you
we
put
can present that.
I just loved how they did that. I was like, this is great, you know?
Right, well, like, you know, right, like Nick and Tom's office worked with Julie Lofstad and Len to at least lay it out in a
Yep.
way that would be appreciated by the users
Yeah,
groups.
particularly the commercial fishing companies that stretch their nets out, or they've been looking for more storage and refrigerated trucks and things like that, pack out ramps. So we're trying to provide the infrastructure that the commercial fishing industry needs, but also sort of a separate space for the public in a paid parking lot where we can generate some more revenue to help offset the cost of operating this facility and keeping our, the rates down for our commercial fishing fleet. Because we want to make sure that it's affordable to them.
In this parking lot?
Yeah,
You were
we'll-
thinking paid parking lot in this?
We're
Just a
expanding
corner
it.
of it
Expanding that parking
would
lot.
be paid, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause-
That's what we haven't heard yet.
Right,
Yeah, we're
okay.
gonna
Hey, well,
present-
Well,
I'm gonna
I know
present
that-
that, we'll get that, we'll get that at another session, and
Yeah,
I'll
okay.
lay that whole plan
Yeah, it'd
out.
be like
So I'm
a,
glad they're here, the commercial fishermen, they put their gear in the parking
We're working-
spots.
we're
and, You know,
working
they've got an
collectively.
organization there, and
we
it
don't
may
have
not
a
look
lot
it,
of
but they
daily
do.
parking where people can pay for the day. This will be all fully automated, where you'd come and register on an app.
Yeah.
And with an app, you do need cell phone service. So we're dealing with another village that wants to do smart parking, and they realized we can't do smart parking without good cell phone service.
Yeah.
So now we're back in front of them again, explaining this, you know. So,
I see.
and Julie, just so you know, I'll send you the drawings after this, but if the 100-foot to the bulkhead's too close, we could work, even move it back a little bit, so it's a little bit, so the commercial fishermen,
Just so it doesn't hit the boat, or the bulkhead, actually, too,
yeah, so.
if in unlikely
I mean,
event.
yeah, exactly, 10 feet's huge, you know, but we even just move it another 10 feet, so.
Janice?
Contract steps, but we'll have to do that in executive.
A question for you. How does this play into our plans to try to increase the bandwidth along Dune Road for the automated beach parking and all of that?
Helps.
That's-
Yeah, this helps. That's,
Okay.
that dovetails in here, because
Okay.
the automated parking that we have at Ponquag and all our other beaches, that we're doing a pilot this year.
Right, so I'm wondering
So
if this
once that's
is-
fully operational, everybody's gonna be on their phone.
Yeah.
That's how it's gonna work, so.
Carriers like ever
you
do
know,
anything
you
about
need-
fiber?
You need cell service.
I believe-
Again, it could be okay
it's gonna
today,
be Verizon
but it's not gonna be
fiber.
okay once
But
that's
it's,
all.
it's actually the transmission
Either
of
work off
data
Verizon,
relative to
sometimes
the
even
park.
Crown,
That Parks
fiber.
needs to have that.
Well,
But I think there's
It could
actually
be-
fiber
it could be-
out there, or it might
could
end
be
right
used
at
that
Pontiac.
Yes.
way.
That's would be on the fiber map. I can get you that answer.
But that would be brought.
Oh, yeah, we would bring the fiber, so it'd be
there's
full
more fiber
fiber. it'd
optics
be-
being
yeah.
brought down the Dune
Yeah.
Road by doing that, yeah.
It wouldn't go to the west, though, it'd be going to the site, so.
Right, to the
Yeah.
city.
But you can do it wirelessly too, so that's the whole point of that, right? So I just don't know what the bandwidth is for this project.
Oh, I see what you're saying, like if the carriers want to do a relay to the tower
Yeah.
instead of
Yeah.
running fiber.
Exactly.
They
Yeah, that's
prefer
what we
not
have
to.
at,
Yeah.
at Overlook Beach, we have that.
Yeah.
It goes over to, Town Hall.
they're probably
on a
gonna,
dish.
like they're saying, is they're gonna pull fiber optic cable.
Yeah.
So that's the source into the network.
That's more resilient, honestly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even a heavy rainstorm can really mess up even that
Yeah.
relay. So they do prefer to be a hard line, right?
Well, one can back up the other, because this can go underwater, you know?
Yeah.
Well, let's keep
Not
on.
if it's 100 feet underwater. you know.
We're all in trouble.
Yeah, we're all in
Bigger
trouble.
problems.
Well,
more than
let's
a cell
see,
phone.
year 2079?
Need a boat.
Yeah.
No. 2079 is going to be 100 feet underwater.
No, I didn't say it'll be underwater.
Underwater, no, well, we're going to reverse global warming.
Yeah, that's what we're working towards.
Are there other documents, other
Yeah,
visuals that we want to look at?
Next slide. This does show the whip antenna, so
This one will have it.
this one will have the whip antennas.
And you say for Southampton ambulance, not for Hampton Bays?
Andrew hence said Southampton Fire District.
Probably get to the end of
And then
Dune
the
Road.
volunteer Southampton Ambulance Company, is that correct?
Probably get to Dune Road.
To reach the end.
There's Southampton Volunteer Ambulance. There's
There-
also Southampton Village Volunteer Ambulance.
Okay.
But- And
So-
they are,
Yeah,
You're saying
everything
the
out
end
on
of- it
Dune
helps at
Road,
the end of
east
Meadow
of the
Lane?
canal.
Yeah.
There's no service east of the canal,
That's not called Dune Road, but
Well,
Meadow Lane.
Meadow Lane.
Meadow Lane.
So.
And they want this service out there.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And the next slide. So, Julie, like I said, we could even, if it's the 100 feet for the commercial fishermen, that's too tight for comfort, with the town, move it even more, a little more south, you know.
Next one. You can move.
Yeah, next one, that's kind of just showing where we own. Next, that's how we got one in New Hampshire.
Got almost every state.
Yeah, we got one recently in New Hampshire too.
Okay.
The rents out there aren't as good. Long Island's a sweet spot. So, it's so dense, and and the government, sometimes difficult to work with. Just easy.
Really?
Well, we can be dense as well.
Is that what you meant by
Dense and difficult to work with.
The cold work.
And
Maybe
next
it's
as
just
well.
called cheap.
and dense.
Yeah, just another one.
And we're
Difficult.
cooking.
So the process, we wanted to show you the conceptual ideas here. They've given us a letter of intent to do this work. There are some contractual issues that we need to discuss in executive session. Because there is like an overlying agreement with another provider. I'm not sure how familiar everybody is with that. So we need to talk about that and the steps necessary to move through the contractual process. So I wanted to get through this session so that you kind of saw what we're talking about, and then perhaps the next time we can get in an exec session, we'll go through what we need to do to move this along.
Well, we're gonna end after this and go into executive session. If you wanna do that, we can do it today for a short period.
I talked to Mark about this earlier in the day, and he's got some kind of filing that's due that he's swamped with, that
Okay.
he's not available.
Okay.
Yeah, because
And he's the one that's he's been handling
That's already
it.
Yeah,
done.
he's the contract guy.
I'm familiar with the
Is
issue.
Mark on there?
No, I'm just saying it's a long.
If you have a long agenda, I know I'm scheduled to be in there at 2, I think, so.
But there may be some
Yeah, you're
procedural
gonna be
steps we have to take to clear any
Yes,
potential.
yeah, and I want to go through that in detail so everybody knows
Yeah.
the steps.
Good.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, any other questions? For,
So conceptually, you
Laurel,
want
Keith?
him to potentially think about which height you are comfortable with, and so that they can revise anything,
well, it sounds like the
moving
transfer
forward.
station, you can do 120 and later on go to 140 if you need to, so that seems like a no-brainer
Okay.
to build it at 120. And this one, you said you gotta go to 100, I was hoping it would be less, but
Maybe do 80, and then you can always
Yeah,
do
we'll check
20
with,
feet
I'm
further.
gonna really have Andrew get the exact height.
you gotta drill down a little,
Um,
let's,
There's other ways around it, right? If we get to, say if we do 80, they might say, all right, can we put, if they truly need like 90-something feet, they might put a 10-foot whip antenna with a relay on top, right? So it'll be a taller whip antenna on top. There's ways around it, and I'll talk with Andrew about how to really nail that down.
Yeah, I think starting out personally, the policy is still like lower and
Right.
more distributed than one giant.
you know, we have
lot.
seen with cell towers in the past that we often see community opposition. You know, I'm hoping that these two sites, we don't see that, but you just never know. So, we're having this work session, it puts it out there that the board is looking to do this. My experience is that everybody wants better cell service, but they don't want cell towers, and there's a disconnect there, obviously, you can't have one without the other.
Exactly, and, you know, we always say this, you know, since COVID, even since Sandy, a lot has changed, you know, people are on their phone, people are way more remote now, right?
Yep.
There's always gonna be an NIMBY, you know, not my backyard, that doesn't represent everyone, but they always scream the loudest. Good thing for you guys, they get to yell at us, and partially you guys, but we'll handle, you know, the public and educating them. Another thing is when they hear cell tower, they think a massive cell tower, even like the Coast Guard tower right next to
Right.
Pontotoc Bridge. Then you really show them it, and they're like, oh, all right, that's,
The money.
yeah, it's a little different than what, you know, they visualized, so.
Have you ever done, maybe this is silly, but have you ever done an osprey nest on top of one of these things?
Right, so,
'Cause we have a lot of
Terryville
calls for
cracks me
osprey
up.
nests.
We have an osprey at Terryville Fire
And
Department.
then we have a lot of bald eagles these days coming now, they're coming back.
So we actually don't want them up there, but we can't do anything when they go up there. And
It's
we
actually
talked to-
corrosive, you
Yeah.
know, they're,
Really?
yeah,
And then
and
they
it's
have
dangerous. and
The
it can
top's
break
open,
down
all the
tower.
fiber, yeah. But even like our tower manufacturer sent us like a 15,000 like bird deterrent system. And I was
Okay.
just looking at this, and I was just like, look, cousin's a farmer, he just has an owl on a pole. I'm like, all I need to do is go to Walmart and put an owl on top of that tower instead
No,
of
but
spending
we-
$20,000.
We love our osprey nest, you know, we do.
I have
That Terryville Park?
Yeah,
tower
Terryville,
at
yeah.
Croton on
went
Hudson,
in?
and every year they
They're
come
not
back.
touched. You drive
And
the one,
the
oh,
top
yeah.
carrier every year
you'll
has
see.
such problems,
Tower
they,
Kearsarge.
So they cause
during the
problems.
migration period,
I'm talking
they
about the
can't
community.
go up there. And, so every
We know
year,
the
I'm like,
community.
guys, you need to get your act together if you wanna, you know, work
Yeah.
on the tower.
Yeah,
But
so-
it's crazy how large the branches are.
Oh, yeah,
up
they
there.
build a massive nest.
Yeah.
So, me and Laurel said we're gonna just be buying like the $20 owls, and when they're putting everything up, we're gonna zip tie it to the top and hope that works. So,
But at Croton, they wanted me, I actually, the top carrier was Sprint, and then they, you know, got bought out by T-Mobile and all stuff, so they took down they're taking down their antennas, and the village's question was, can you keep the platform up there for the ospreys?
There you are, well, thank you.
yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Oh, Julie, did you want to say something?
1 minute?
Oh, 1 minute, absolutely.
Hi, Julie Lofstad, Hampton Bays. I'm here on behalf of the commercial fishermen. I just have 3 quick comments that we've kind of touched on. One is the fall zone. If you can get me those numbers from the cell phone tower to the bulkhead, that would be great. And then when you guys decide how high it is, we can comment then. Also, any liability, I know in the unlikely event that a cell phone tower will kink or bend or whatever, just that any boats, vehicles, gear will be covered by the town or the cell tower company. And Tommy John brought up about wind resistant. How about storm surge resistance? Because during Hurricane Sandy, there was a big storm surge. So I'd like to know about that.
Yeah, so that will be with the foundation. They'll, when they engineer the tower for the storm surge, that will be,
Because when the storm surge happened, all the sand from the ocean came and pushed onto the parking lot. It was probably 8 to 10 feet of sand that eventually ended up on the parking lot. And just the last point that I think Jay brought up, for the future bigger project, just no loss of space for the fishermen for parking, storage, and dragging our nets around. That doesn't necessarily have to do with the cell tower, but just for the project in general.
and just so you know, everyone is additionally insured when we build these towers, so property, et cetera.
Okay.
That's part of it. Carriers carry minimum of like around $10 million per carrier, so, yeah.
Okay.
So if you're fully loaded up, we're dealing with almost 40, realistically, sometimes like 60, 70 million in liability insurance.
Okay.
So,
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you for inviting me today.
thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
Good to see
Come in.
you.
Good to see you. Okay, anyone else? All right, we'll conclude this. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Nice to see you guys.
How about you?
Janice, thank you for your help with the
Fish coming in
the
soon?
HADA resolution.
Oh, sure.
Really?
Is that good, or you need?
Fine, right? Everybody's okay with it?
Very good.
There was, I don't know, there was a resolution about, I think we resolved it, about 8 affordable housing units in Noyak. But I think it's a private development.
Oh, for credits? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and But they're all affordable?
All affordable, so we have.
The entire unit?
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Higher
The
development?
ones they're talking about, yeah, the 2 buildings with the units in them, and then there's the house, and that's not. But the multifamily component is all affordable.
It's all affordable.
Yeah,
Okay.
which is amazing for WIC.
Yeah.
That'll be a very good thing.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
It's needed up there, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's very good. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
Okay, let's see, updates?
It's 12:15 already. I think Janice took updates off, so.
Oh, okay, so we don't have updates. All right, fine.
Well, can I just quickly, Monday at 1 o'clock at Good Ground Park is the unveiling of the Hometown Heroes banner program.
Right.
We have 3 events, right?
We have 3 events.
Yeah.
Summer News Conference, the ribbon cutting for the water crossing, and then the Hometown Heroes banner program.
That's Monday?
Monday.
I will be bringing my daughter back from college.
We'll do a moment of silence on Tuesday for Laura Masterson, wife of Bill Masterson, former highway superintendent, who passed away May 12th. So we're not going to do the moment of silence today, but we'll incorporate it into our moment of silence next week. I don't have, we can hold off on any other updates unless somebody has something time sensitive.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Just to inform the board that this week, the town of East Hampton changed their incoming helicopter routes back to the November route, and that affects the entirety of Southampton, whereas helicopters going to East Hampton Airport, they go along the South Shore and they turn north at Hampton Bays. They fly over Tuckahoe, Shinnecock, they go to Robbins Island, and then in through North Sea, Noyac, Sag Harbor into East Hampton Airport. For the past year, the helicopters have been using the Sierra route, which is the south route over Wainscott. The people there, understandably, I suppose, were really unhappy. The helicopters would come in and out and travel the southern route out over the ocean, and that's been it's been quiet. So this change is a change back. It affects the entire town. Very often, helicopters will take the northern route, right, along the North Shore, transition down over West Hampton to get over the Atlantic, and then turn back up at Hampton Bays. So we're going to be seeing a lot more helicopter traffic than we did in 2022, and I'm unhappy to see this
They can't
change.
mix it up? I mean,
Well, they do. They
Is East
have
Hampton asking for any input from
the
the town of Southampton?
not unless anyone here has not to me. The exit is over the Sierra route, which is to the south, over East Hampton Town and out into the Atlantic. But the approach now is the November route. We're familiar with this November route. This is the one that existed in 2021, earlier. This is the route that changed from the November route used to go over the North Fork, over North Sea, Noyac, Sag Harbor into East Hampton, but then they changed the November route to reflect a southern entrance to go up over Hampton Bays into the Peconic Bays and then into East Hampton. So I would like East Hampton Town to change it back.
Well, we should send them a
We
letter.
should send them a letter.
Um,
You're going to get phone calls.
Yeah,
We're
already,
already
yeah,
getting-
we're already starting.
Yeah.
So, why don't we work on a letter to East Hampton Town?
Okay. At the very least, right.
Do we have a separate council on airport issues? Jim?
Right, for the
We
secret.
have consulted with one of our environmental counsel, Beveridge and Diamond has done work with us before and some of the landfill issues or whatnot. We have them involved with the East Hampton Airport issue for a little bit.
Because they're going through some secret process as well, trying to implement restrictions that we understand why, but we also have to look at the traffic impacts and the impacts to West Hampton.
Yeah. Now, if you recall,
The secret is designed to change the airport to a prior permission airport. That's
Yeah, they did it
change.
without it at first, and then the courts told them no.
Right.
Judge
Right,
Bates
but
said,
we
no, you
should,
have to have the
we
secret.
should
You
be
gotta
an
do the secret
interested
first.
party.
Yeah.
In that I haven't really seen anything in terms of scoping
I
sessions.
haven't seen anything. I haven't seen anything yet. but-
Um,
They did request traffic reports, some
I saw-
studies
that's
that
the
we
one
did
thing
in the
I
West
saw.
Hampton area. You know,
I saw
so-
that in one
and we
letter
sent that
to the
over.
planning department, but I feel like if they're going through a secret process,
Mhm.
we should be an involved agency.
Yeah, no,
And-
totally agree, but there doesn't
And-
seem to be
and
communication.
I haven't seen a scoping document for that.
Seen
And maybe
anything else?
we need
Yeah,
to
we'll-
have council
we'll look to
involved
see.
here.
We'll look to see if they have sent out anything, but we have had councils, if you recall, we spoke with, and they spoke at an exec session, council at Beverage and Time, and Steve Gordon and his partner, who spoke with us about the options when we was talking about what was happening over at the East Hampton Airport. They essentially told us to kind of sit still until, they did recommend that they thought they had to do a full EIS, and the courts did agree with that analysis, and so that's where they are now. So, yeah, I'll check to see if any kind of scoping documents has been set out. I haven't seen it, and if we need to
Yeah,
consult
I
with
think
them, we can do it.
bringing in special counsel on this issue, I think would be helpful.
Yeah, they could be, yeah. And they've been good, they
Just to
haven't.
follow the process, because it's an East Hampton process, and we need,
Right.
a watchdog.
Yeah, we're very aware that whatever they do there could impact us, we're sort of on two fronts there, right? I mean, we have the issues that face our eastern town that are directly impacted by what happens at the East Hampton Airport, and then we have,
Well,
what happens there could impact the western town.
Yeah, not even just
whatever's
the
gonna
western
flow to
portion of town,
rest-
it could also impact the eastern portion of town, any changes of flight patterns.
It is
Absolutely.
now.
Sure, absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
the county formed a new committee, but they meet once a year kind of thing for local Gabreski residents, so there doesn't seem to be much clout in that.
We had
but-
a lot more helicopter traffic last year.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's very
West
noticeable.
Hampton and East Quad.
But there's no way to communicate from that standpoint. I think it has to be municipality to municipality.
One of the things that we did in our committee last year, which we're going to get back together, is we looked at the flights, where they're going. And I maintain a third of East Hampton helicopters are flying over the western part of Southampton town.
Yeah.
You just don't know where the helicopter is going. And, I'm a little weird like this. I watch them, not every day, but, they do transition over the western part of the town. So we're seeing helicopters in and out of Gabreski, which is, it's a bigger airport. They have more operations. They get about anywhere from around 60,000. It's dropped down a little bit. Flight operations in and out of Gabreski, and East Hampton is about 30,000. So
And they also have different flight paths available to them that they don't find. So Gabreski in particular can have aircraft coming from lots of different directions, and it's very hard for anybody to tell, that, and that's one of the issues. So when we get calls, there's really no way to react.
Yeah, my husband always asks, he's like, they're helicopters. He goes, why can't we make them just go straight up, higher than they are going, and then travel out?
Because they're not controlled the way fixed wing aircraft.
I know.
They don't have to file flight plans. They don't have to do a lot of stuff that fixed wing aircraft
I
have
guess
to
we
do.
could
And then a lot of them have been flying so low.
Yeah, and they can legally.
Yeah.
If there's a reason, then it's pretty easy to find a reason.
It depends on what, where the cloud cover is.
And if there's a lot of air traffic in the area.
All sorts of reasons. They're pretty much free to go where they want to
Okay.
go.
Unless
I mean,
they're-
that's not totally fair, but, that's the way it seems.
And they're loud as can be. All right, thank you, Councilman. We should work on a letter.
Yes.
Janice, can we put something together? Yes, okay.
Maybe a call.
No,
Supervisor
we need-
to supervisor.
We need it to be
We need
official.
something in writing.
Yeah, but I mean, just
If they're changing their routes to one that's gonna put a lot of helicopter traffic off the Hampton Bays.
well, there's a lot of
That's,
reasons, different pressures to change routes, so that's something we should find out, you know, where that came from.
Yeah, because their South
came
Fork
from the
residents
FAA.
don't want to hear it.
I can tell you where it
There's
came
your
from.
answer.
What
The
time is it?
inbound
What time
and
of year?
and outbound flights were going over
Wainscot.
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 And I don't want to put it necessarily just on that hamlet, but it's a lot of flights going over a particular area, and we're going to find it. It's a lot of flights going to go over.
They have the outbound going over.
So they have the outbound and we have the inbound. East Hampton Airport literally borders our borderline, our eastern, you know, the runway points at Southampton town.
Sure, right at the
Stay
second line.
high enough over. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have executive session. We can take a short break, at 1 o'clock, I guess we'll reconvene for executive session. We have confidential legal advice, contracts, personnel, acquisitions, litigation. We have quite a full executive session. So I'll make a motion to end our work session and go into executive session on those items.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.